I'm gonna give you 4 exercises that you can use today when you get into the gym and increase your vertical jump. We're gonna start right now. All right, that first exercise is gonna be a movement that probably most of you have never done, unless you follow me on Instagram at GhostfaceDMiller. So the first one is gonna be learning how to load a counter movement while doing a technical coordination exercise. And I always feel like if I held my hat like this, I'm straight from the late 90s. I should be wearing cargo shorts. Now, this movement literally will teach you how to have proper mechanics to execute a vertical jump. And no one ever talks about that with weightlifting exercises. They either are brainwashed and diehard weightlifting fans, or they're functional gurus who can't stand weightlifting or powerlifters. Now, when I say teaching you the mechanics of a counter movement is typically gonna be like 6 to 10 inches, right? So if I go here, boom, 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 okay? This loads, this teaches you how to load. Feel those hips. Feel the knees flex, hips flex, knees flex, okay? Boom, 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 okay? Now, when we do a movement like this, if we put velocity tests on here, we're gonna see those pumps done at like 2 to 2.5 meters per second. And then when you hit that power, 2.5 to 3 meters per second, because we're only gonna be using about 50 to 60% of our max. So if we're doing this over a long period of time, strictly to increase our vertical jump, hit that for 50 to 60%, and then later in the week, you might go a little bit heavier where you're like 75 to 80%. You do 2 pumps into 1 snatch. Do this for 5 sets, start to blow up your vertical jump. Okay, that second exercise, we're gonna give you a couple different progressions here. Now, vertical jump, we're here, and then we're jumping. So we're going from a bilateral position. The only thing I see here is that you can train unilaterally and see tremendous output that does lead to an improvement in your vertical jump from a bilateral perspective. So you can do this pretty effectively. And one of the ways that we'll do it is we'll sort of start here, okay? This is going to be a very unique way to train, but when you see what I'm doing and the switching that's going on, you'll see how hip extension will be trained. And that's one thing real quickly is that hip extension here, okay? This is where you'll see the maximal contraction from your glutes. So your glutes are really responsible for hip extension, as are your hamstrings. Hamstrings are really fast twitch, helps with that hip extension. So we're here, we're gonna load the quads with a nice co-contraction, load the hamstrings as we come forward, feel those glutes, swing those arms back up. Now, if we're training that unilaterally, we can start just by hitting couple positions here, come through, okay? So we're using our garage strength single leg roller, available at garagestrength.com, okay? So we're gonna touch, come through. When we come through, I wanna squeeze that down leg, okay? So I'm here, boom. And you're gonna start to feel, even on my right leg, I typically lean a little more, as I just did, typically struggle with that force into the ground. Boom, come back up. Okay, that's the first level. So that second level of this progression will look more like this. So the first level, I'm here, and I come up and I come off the pad. This level, I touch, I wanna get my foot off that pad earlier. Stay off the pad as long as I can, and so I can almost use that as like a cheat point. Now, that's the second level. The third level, look at how durable that is. This is like a single leg squat stand that you could single leg squat 405 for reps. That's why you should pick it up today. The next level would be here, skater squat, come back up with that hip lock through. Okay, so this is the third level. I don't have my back foot there. Boom. Fourth level. I wanna have knee flexion, and then I wanna have hip extension on this leg. I don't know why I was hitting here. Knee flexion here, active hamstring. Okay, here, boom. 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 Now, this is a movement that we've used with some of our best football players, the best Power 5 collegiate football players. Nick Singleton struggled with this when he first started to do this. But what happened is, then as he started to warm up and feel a little bit more active, he could feel what his knee was doing, what his hip extension was doing on this leg. And then as he came through, he improved that trunk control. And then we could do a little bit more aggressive vertical work with some good hurdle hops, some side jumps. So that not only improved his vertical jump, but it also improved his agility. So you can do this progression and focus on that knee flexion with the ball. Okay, so I'll demonstrate one more time here. Knee flexion with the ball. That'll force that back foot to stay up. Come down here. So we're a little bit below where that counter movement will be, but it's still gonna transfer to that counter movement action. Boom, come back up nice and quick. That's gonna help improve your vertical jump. Do 4 sets of 5 on each leg. Next exercise. Okay, so the next exercise is going to be an overspeed banded jump. There is some really good research on this because it's gonna help with that amortization phase. Okay, so a lot of athletes struggle when they do a vertical jump out of the counter movement. It's similar to when you're hitting a dip on a jerk. A lot of athletes collapse forward. That's when they're missing those jerks. That's when they're pressing them out and complaining about having to do jerks. So I really like using like a behind the neck jerk or a split jerk. So that's an extra bonus for improving your vertical jump. But Taman here, Big T Spice CSCS, All-American Shot Putter, is gonna demonstrate an overspeed jump using our HAF band. So you're gonna have this attached, let's say about 4 to 6 feet above you. We're gonna pull, explode, and when you touch and go, we wanna see this for like 5 sets of 3 or 5 sets of 4. So let's see it. A little higher. I feel like I could jump a little higher than that. So it's pull. This is gonna raise your hip level, okay? It's gonna raise your center of mass, and then that's gonna force you, when you land, you're gonna be able to react quicker because of the band. So it's gonna make your joint a little bit more rigid, which in turn is gonna lead to better force production. Next exercise. All right, the fourth and final exercise, even though I told you to do behind the neck jerks and split jerks, those are probably the actual best exercises for vertical jumps, but nobody really has access to jerk boxes. So you can also do push presses and some of those PA presses. Now, this is probably my favorite, especially with kids that are gonna be 9th, 10th, 11th grade. They're starting to get stronger. They're starting to get more explosive and have that greater neural intelligence. Okay, so this is a really good movement, and we're gonna do a depth drop here, boom, into a hurdle hop. So what that might look like is just take a 10 to 12 inch box. It doesn't need to be really high. And this is gonna force you to feel that counter movement. And one thing that you can do as a coach or as an athlete is film yourself on your cell phone. If you're privileged enough to have a sweet cell phone, like an iPhone 14 VMAX, not a VMAX, that's a Pokemon card, Max Pro or whatever they're called. If you're privileged enough to have one of those, you can video where you land off that depth drop, okay? So then you can sit here and go, all right, this is my depth drop here, boom. I wanna react really, really quickly, okay? So again, I'm gonna go here, and notice how my arms are, okay? A lot of high school kids, when they first start doing these, they'll go like this. We wanna react quickly. As a coach, one of the fastest ways to improve someone's jump is to watch how quickly they swing. Some people will swing here instead of swinging and being ready in the air. If you have an athlete who does that, where they're delayed, they might not be as coordinated, so you've got to coach them how to coordinate a little bit quicker. So here, boom. And the big key with using your iPhone or whatever you have is that you can then look at where's the depth on that counter movement off the depth drop, and then do that same exact position when you're doing a vertical jump test. So you want to mimic the depth of that depth drop in your vertical jump test. That's gonna optimize your performance. If you guys need help with your programming, remember, you have to have a periodized program and understand how to work towards a big time peak. That's exactly what we do inside of our app, Peak Strength. You can go to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store. You can download Peak Strength for 7 free days of training, and you can cancel at any time. But the worst thing that's gonna happen is you're gonna get 5 free workouts, because remember, freaks, at some point, you've got to be in that journey to attain peak strength. Until next time, peace.